Good afternoon. I'm Trista Keaton, and you're watching The Source. Today, The Source will cover the unwanted arrival of the Palestine, Ohio soil in Putnam County. And in honor of National Women's Day, we talked to DePauw students about their experience with gender discrimination. Campuses all around the world are celebrating Women's History Month, and with that comes a lot of conversation about discrimination in college. A Harvard study details that college-educated women have experienced more individual discrimination than women with a high school degree or less. Why is this? We interviewed campus individuals to see how they've experienced individual discrimination on campus.
I experienced gender discrimination while in Management Fellows. There were men who would laugh when female speakers came and diminish their experiences when they were talking about discrimination in the workplace. Another experience was from a professor. There was a story of a little girl being kidnapped and raped, and she could no longer be called abduction because the kidnapper married her, so now we had to call it story into womanhood. And when I tried to argue with him about it, he told me I was wrong and that he was the professor. This professor would always start off his sentences with, "Now this might be controversial, but," and then he would say the most sexist or derogatory thing. This experience comes from another student who talked about a professor with the pitch of her voice. He said that it was too hard to hear her and that her voice was too high and she should talk in a lower tone because it was more professional.
With this, we want to start a conversation on how we can make campus a safer and better place to learn. In other news, Hoosiers have raised concerns about the transportation of hazardous waste through central Indiana. The waste is being transported from the site of an Ohio train derailment and started arriving in the area last Saturday. The Heritage Environmental Landfill, a facility that is heavily regulated by state and federal governments, is located just east of the town of Russellville and about 6 miles from Rochdale. On Tuesday, Heritage Landfill leaders met with county commissioners to discuss how safety measures as they await the arrival of approximately 2,000 tons of contaminated soil from Ohio. County Commissioner of Putnam County, Tom Helmer, expressed concern over the transportation of hazardous materials through the area, stating that it's the unknown. They know Heritage hauls in there all the time, but there is something new. Heritage leaders have reassured residents that they are closely monitoring the situation upstream and downstream to ensure that no contaminants leave the facility, and the contaminants will be closely monitored to prevent any potential risk to the environment or public health. During a meeting over the weekend, the Putnam County Health Department stated that they do not have any authority over the situation and that the EPA is responsible for overseeing the transportation of hazardous waste. We will continue to monitor this story and provide updates as they become available. We will now cut to PAC student and researcher Jake Wood for the War Room segment.
Thanks, Trista. I'm Jake Wood, and this is the War Room. Today we will cover several foreign events occurring in recent media. Our first story details the abduction of 4 American citizens in Mexico after reportedly being mistaken for Haitian smugglers. On Friday, March 3rd, gunmen believed to be affiliated with the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, or CJNG, abducted the 4 in Matamoros after they crossed the border searching for medical services. 2 of the kidnapped were rescued on Monday, March 6th, while the other 2 were reported as dead. The CJNG cartel is one of the most powerful in Mexico and has increasingly challenged the Mexican state and its ability to maintain security in the country. The group is also locked in a brutal power struggle with the Sinaloa cartel, which has historically been the strongest drug trafficking organization in the country. In other news, a number of deadly attacks have been carried out over the past few days in Pakistan's Balochistan province, which has been the site of separatist insurgency for decades. The first attacks were carried out by the Balochistan Liberation Army, which claimed responsibility for several attacks targeting bases and communications towers of the Pakistani military over the weekend. Another militant group, the Balochistan Liberation Front, claimed responsibility for a deadly IED attack that resulted in the death of 5 Pakistani military personnel that occurred on Sunday, March 5th. On Monday, March 6th, a suicide bomber belonging to an unidentified group targeted police officers in Quetta, killing 9 and injuring around 13. Since 2019, insurgent groups operating in Balochistan have increased their capabilities and frequency of attacks they carry out. The 2 most active groups, the Balochistan Liberation Army and the Balochistan Liberation Front, have been particularly active on social media, where they posted videos of their attacks. Pakistan has also faced a resurgent jihadist insurgency in the form of Tehrik-i-Taliban Pakistan since Afghanistan's fall to the Taliban in 2021. A group which made global headlines this January when militants carried out a deadly suicide attack in Peshawar. We end with a warning from China's Foreign Minister Qin Gang. The minister warned that the U.S. and China are heading towards, quote, inevitable conflict in a press conference on Monday. The newly appointed diplomat also reaffirmed China's relationship with Russia, claiming that the friendship between the two countries promotes stability and security. Ironic given Russia's unprovoked invasion of Ukraine and China's indiscriminate slaughter of the Uyghur people. Qin also made remarks about the recent spy balloon incident, claiming that the U.S. had overreacted and that the balloon reaching the U.S. was an accident. The statements are yet another example of the rising tensions between China and the U.S. that have continued to escalate in the wake of Russia's decline as a global power. Thank you for watching The War Room, a segment of The Source. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Instagram at D3TV to keep up with the real news.